I recently came across a way of thinking about negotiation that breaks away from the old strongest wins mindset. Instead of viewing the process as a clash where someone must end up on top and the other at the bottom, this perspective encourages discovering outcomes that benefit everyone involved. In other words, don't limit yourself to splitting the difference right down the middle. Aim for creative solutions that let every participant walk away feeling genuinely satisfied. Picture a scenario where two colleagues argue over whether to open a window. One wants fresh air, while the other fears that a breeze might scatter important papers. Instead of just cracking it halfway and leaving both slightly disgruntled, consider an alternative that bypasses the problem entirely, like opening a window in the next room. The fresh air circulates, and the documents remain safe, leaving both sides truly content rather than merely placated. This mindset can also reshape the way you approach dividing something tangible, like a cake. If one person cuts and the other chooses first, the cutter will carefully ensure the two pieces are perfectly even to avoid ending up with the smaller share. It's a subtle tweak that takes the "it's not fair" complaints off the table. Another classic example involves two children and a single orange. If an adult splits it in half without asking why each child wants it, both end up with just 50% of what they could have gotten. Maybe one kid wanted the juicy fruit while the other needed the peel for a cake recipe. By simply understanding the underlying reasons, both could have received the entire portion they actually desired. Stories like these reveal that rushing to crude compromises is less effective than uncovering the real motives behind the demands. So how do you find such mutually fulfilling solutions? There's a multi-step approach. First, learn to dig beneath the surface and understand the core interests, not just the stated positions. If someone is pushing hard for a certain outcome, don't stop at the what. Ask why. Sometimes, the essence of their request is rooted in a deeper need that hasn't been clearly expressed. Once you've identified those genuine interests, empathize with them and acknowledge that you understand. This sets the stage for a more collaborative conversation, where each side feels heard. A second principle involves using fair, objective benchmarks. Instead of letting personal opinions crash head-on, rely on neutral, agreed-upon references, like established standards, regulations, or expert guidelines. By focusing on something beyond personal preference, you shift the dynamic from "I'm right and you're wrong" to "let's see what the rules or data suggest." This change in perspective lowers the emotional temperature and makes it easier to find common ground. A third key element is brainstorming multiple potential solutions before selecting one. Rather than flip-flopping between just two extremes, fully open or fully closed window, half the cake or a slightly bigger piece, try generating a whole range of possibilities. Treat this step like an idea workshop, setting aside judgment initially and simply gathering options. Often, what appear to be obstacles are actually opportunities for innovation. Those differences can spark unexpected combinations that satisfy everyone. The fourth crucial point: never forget that real people, with their own feelings and values, stand behind each stance. Treating others as human beings, rather than targets to be toppled, makes all the difference. Show respect, acknowledge their efforts, and try to see where they're coming from. When you remember you're both humans negotiating with each other, tensions ease, and authentic dialogue becomes possible. That shift can turn a showdown into a genuine meeting of minds. Of course, you might wonder what to do if the other side resorts to underhanded tactics, wields more power, or uses psychological pressure. In such cases, it helps to recognize manipulative strategies and calmly call them out. Having a solid backup plan, what experts call a BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement, also puts you in a stronger position. If you know you can walk away and still be fine, you're no longer boxed into accepting a bad deal. And if the conversation becomes personal, don't take the bait. Steer the focus back to the problem at hand. Invite your counterpart to explain why they're proposing certain options, or ask them for advice on how they'd solve your dilemma. Encourage them to critique your ideas directly, so you can pinpoint their concerns. In doing so, you transform personal attacks into constructive discussions. Ultimately, negotiation isn't a zero-sum contest where one must lose for the other to win. It's more like two people navigating a boat together. If you obsess over rowing harder than the other person, you'll both drift off course. But if you synchronize your strokes and agree on a direction, you'll reach your destination feeling more fulfilled, without sacrificing the relationship that got you there. I would love to hear what you think in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any content, and thanks for watching this video.